Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dad's Turn to Talk. My name is Bob, and I'm joined by Josh. Tonight, Derek is out of town still. Where'd he go again, Josh? He went to Hawaii?
We went to Hawaii. What a life.
Yeah,
What a
so
life.
it's terrible. But anyway, I'd like
Horrible
to thank
life.
you for joining us this evening. This is going to be our New Year's Eve show, New Year's Day show. As always, we want to encourage you to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, we do timestamp the topic. So if there's something specific that interests you, you can go ahead and jump straight to that. But we hope you stick around for the full show because we like to have a few surprises and have some fun. Josh, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, Bob. Happy New Year. I cannot believe we're heading into 2025.
Jeez.
Oh my God, I met you in 1985. That is
love to meet us, man.
Who cares? So what? They all know us. Come on. Good God.
I like to pretend that I'm in my 20s.
Just everything good. Really, actually, let's start out just hearing the news about Jimmy Carter passing away at the age of 100. Pretty crazy. He had just finished his presidency.
Pretty crazy. He's
100
years old.
I didn't finish. What I was saying is pretty crazy. I'll date us again. You know, we weren't even alive yet when he was done with his presidency. So,
when was it? A couple of years ago. When was it? When Betty White passed away?
Yeah.
Somebody turned around and asked me, "How'd she die?" I'm like, "How'd she die? Old age."
I asked you that.
That figures.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's because I work with geriatric patients that once they get to a certain age, that's just what happens. Jimmy Carter was 100 years old. He lived a full life, and thank you for serving the country, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And prayers go out to his family.
So. Yep, the oldest living president ever, 100 years old.
Yeah,
pretty crazy. But I am, I'm excited for Dad's Turn to Talk. In the new year, we had that huge video on the Superman trailer. We got over 4,000 views and counting. Thank you. I know I wasn't on last week, but thank you, Bob and Derek, for taking care of the fort. I watched the show. It was fantastic. It was funny. Who would have thought that my twin is Tim Curry? Who?
All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's jump into this. We got our first topic. Oh, you know what? Hold on. Before we get into our first topic, I'm getting a message from Derek. He just sent me a video to check in with him. So, Derek, how you doing?
I think that was Derek jumping in the water.
I think so too. Derek, we hope you're enjoying yourself. You look like you're having a good time.
Here's to Derek.
All right, so we want to go ahead and get into our first topic here, and this concerns the Sony Spider-Man Universe. I just want to point out that was more exciting than all of those movies together.
I bet it was. Good God.
All right. So the reason why we want to talk about this is that during the week, the CEO for Sony wanted to comment on the Spider-Man universe. And according to him, the Spider-Man universe movies were destroyed by the press. He says these are not terrible films. So let's go ahead and scroll down here to what he had to say. In an interview with the LA Times, Tony Vinciquerra, I hope I pronounced that right. If I didn't, who cares? Described Kraven the Hunter as probably the worst launch that we've had in 7.5 years since he took the job. And he says it didn't work out very well, which I still don't understand because the film is not a bad film. Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's not. He also says that Madam Web underperformed in theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film. It did great on Netflix. Again, that's not necessarily a good thing. I've seen some of the films on Netflix. So he says that the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Kraven and Madam Web, and the critics just destroyed it. They also did it with Venom, but the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. I wouldn't exactly call Venom 3 a massive hit, even though it did do much better than the other films. He says these are not terrible films. They were just destroyed by the critics and the press for some reason. And I can give you a pretty good reason. But he did say that Sony needs to rethink its Spider-Man Universe strategy, but blame the need to do that on the press rather than any deficiencies at Sony itself. He says, I do think we need to rethink it just because it's snake bitten. If we put out another one, it's going to get destroyed no matter how good or bad it is. So, first off, here's what I think about what he said.
Crap, mega crap.
Josh, what do you take of these comments here?
I think they're ridiculous. Bob, you've seen these movies. You know, we have talked about it at length. You don't do a bunch of movies without Spider-Man. You're talking about the villains. Like, I know we've talked about how much we love the Penguin, but the Penguin was introduced in Batman first, and we got to know him. When it comes to Spider-Man, they're like, oh, let's do Kraven. Kraven's one of his arch enemies. We want to see him face Spider-Man. Are you kidding me? Madam Web, I had just no interest in. It didn't, I couldn't relate. And as far as Venom goes, I haven't seen any of them. I know you've told me the first one is very good. But again, Venom is Spider-Man's arch enemy. Like, what do these people do? Do they sit there and they're like, how can we make a bad movie? How can we, let's not put Spider-Man in it? I mean, everyone wants to see Spider-Man. They want to see him fight. Or if you're going to do one about the villain, you need to introduce the villain first in the movie so we can, create a story arc with that. With Penguin, you had him in the Batman. You knew he was, a villain. You knew he was messed up. You had his little arc, and then you introduced him, and you did an amazing show with him. I don't understand Bob Hollywood right now. I don't understand why they think this stuff is appealing to us. It's like they don't get that we're their audience, that we grew up in the heyday of this, of these superheroes. We want to see a particular movie. Okay. If you want to do something new, and you've said this before, do it with a new hero. Create your new hero. Build that from scratch. We're fine with that. But when it comes to Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, we want to see them on the big screen. We don't want to see a movie called, Kraven, who we grew up watching, fighting Spider-Man, being in a movie where there's no Spider-Man. He's fighting the Rhino.
That's a whole nother
topic. Come on, and you've obviously seen these because you review this stuff. I mean, aren't you sitting there in the theater and being like, boy, where's Spider-Man?
To an extent, yes. I do think Spider-Man is the key that's missing from all of these. And at first I thought the problem was because they couldn't have Spider-Man because of the deal that they had with the MCU, that they couldn't use Spider-Man. Then the information came out that they could have used Tom Holland's Spider-Man anytime they wanted.
Wow.
And I don't understand let me rephrase. I don't know what possessed them to think it was a good idea to make all of these movies, because I know why they wanted to do it. They were trying to cash in on making comic book movies, and they thought they could do it with some of these characters. The problem is, what have I always told you about some of these lesser known characters? it's okay if you have the films, but what is the most important thing that you have to do since people aren't going to know them as much?
We have to introduce them into like the big films.
But even beyond that, what have I always told you is the most important thing?
What is it?
It's got to be well written.
Oh,
These are not well written films. They're not well directed. They're not well edited. Their CGI looks god awful. The stories are bad. The acting is terrible. You know, when I was watching Kraven and Madam Web, I felt like I was watching Rocky trying to do commercials. You know, where he was sitting there going, "In the morning, I splash it on, and it makes me smell manly." That's what I felt like I was watching, because you had some good actors like what's his name? You had Russell Crowe, and then what's the name of that actor? One who's in the House of the Dragon. Also, hold on. I'm blocking.
Who's the one?
Reese Ifans.
Okay.
He's a good actor as well, and he was in Venom, The Last Dance. Some of these have some decent actors, and they're just bad. I mean, from start to finish, the stories are bad. And I think that's ultimately the first problem with all of these films, is that they're bad. Venom is somewhat entertaining simply because the camaraderie between Eddie and the symbiote is funny, and it's cool watching them because they're like a married couple bickering, and so that's kind of fun to watch. But the rest of it, it's awful. And then now you bring it to the next point, is that there's nothing holding these together because there's no Spider-Man,
right?
And that's a big problem here. And then they didn't stop and think how they could have done this. So Venom, they had 3 movies, right?
Yeah.
And so he was kind of the big piece of this Spider-Man universe that they were doing there.
Okay.
Why not have Kraven hunt Venom? I mean, it's not ideal. Obviously, we want to see him fight Spider-Man. That's really who he should be fighting. But I mean, if you're dead set on doing it against or doing it without Spider-Man, then have him hunt Venom. But all these characters, they try to make these villains into misunderstood characters, and that they're really heroic and whatnot. No, they're villains.
Yeah.
They were always villains. And they were meant to be villains.
They want them to be tragic.
Yes. And it just does not work for these characters. It really, I don't know. It really takes, it's just hard to get into them because you know how they're supposed to be. And when you watch them on screen, they're not who they are. And then the stories are bad. You have all these subplots that get introduced that go absolutely nowhere, that have nothing to do with anything. And you're just like, what the heck is this? Like when I was watching Venom: The Last Dance, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is god awful. Now, in all fairness, it was not as bad as Madam Web and Kraven. Those two were worse. But oh god, yeah, they're bad, and I mean laughably bad.
Is there any mention in any of these movies of Spider-Man?
In Madam Web, they have what's her name? What's Spider-Man's mom's name? Mary, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary Parker, she's pregnant, and she's giving birth. Hey, Charlie. She's giving birth to Peter, but they never use his name, Peter. About the only one I think that you could say there was a mention of Spider-Man was, remember they had like a wall drawing of Spider-Man in Morbius?
I was going to say that. Wasn't Morbius, didn't they?
Yeah, and then I think it was in Venom 2. Was it Venom 2? He ends up like in an alternate universe, and he sees on the TV, he sees Spider-Man.
Interesting.
So yeah, there are things that they could have done with this, and it just it was just bad. And the thing is if you weren't going to use Spider-Man, use Miles Morales then. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not ideal because in my mind, Miles Morales isn't really Spider-Man. He
Right.
has the mantle of Spider-Man, but to me, he's not Spider-Man. And so, but you could have used him because, like his movies, the Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, those are pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why not use him?
I don't know. I can't figure out why. And it's like, and I keep bringing Penguin up, but like even with the Penguin, it's leading into the Batman Part 2, which will come out in the year 2045. But this isn't leading to anything at all. It's leading like to nothing. It's like they're like, oh, we're going to talk about the villains and everything. No, they should have done a Sinister Six movie.
Well,
Then.
I'm wondering if that's where they were intending to kind of take it, but it just never happened.
Yeah,
And then, of course, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe that's where they were taking it, and it just never happened. But you did a Sinister Six with Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't the actual all the same characters, but it was 6 villains. That was the Sinister Six.
Yeah, it's almost like I want to say they brought in the Sinister Six, obviously with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. And maybe when they first, I would like to know when they were first exploring all these individual movies with the villains, because maybe they started it with that.
See, now here's an idea. You mentioned Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody wanted to see him after No Way Home. Everybody wanted to see him come back as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He was the breakaway star from Spider-Man No Way Home, as far as everybody was just excited to see Andrew Garfield again because he got his redemption arc and everybody was just kind of happy to see him. Why not have Kraven hunt Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Especially because in No Way Home, he said that he didn't have any particular villains that were like crazy or anything like that. So have Kraven hunt him. Give him something. Just give him a good one.
Absolutely. I think it's so ridiculous how they just can't figure it out. It's like I think of this one, and I know it's a little off the subject. I told you I was watching What If last night, and I was looking at the different titles, and the next one's about Agatha. And it's like almost like they take someone, because when they first introduced Agatha, she had like the theme song, and people were maybe a little interested. So they take that and be like, oh my God, we got to run it and we got to put Agatha everywhere. You know what I mean? Instead of just slowly like building her up and seeing if if the audience really like her. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. And I won't tell you about What If because I heard some stuff about the ending. So if
I
you
don't know
keep
if I'm
going,
going to watch it or not. I don't know. We'll see. There is one episode on there I do want to see, the one I told you about Howard Stark and everything. So I might watch that one. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it's like these directors and writers in Hollywood and creators, they're like, let's do a movie without Spider-Man. I mean, you can't even, I think the only villain movie you could probably do besides Penguin right now is the Joker. I think people would be curious. Or they did do the Joker. Excuse me. Oh my God. But, we saw what
Joker. Well, no, they didn't do the Joker. He was never really the Joker.
Yeah. Okay. Like a true Joker.
They did an Arthur Fleck movie.
Right.
What a piece of garbage that was. Thank you for bringing that up, Josh, because you just ruined my night.
It's on Max. I'm debating if I should watch it.
You should watch it just to see how bad it is. That reminds me, our resident panelist, Lily, actually went and checked it out.
Oh God!
And she kind of the same thing. She's like, okay, the musical numbers were okay. As far as those were kind of interesting, but the rest of the movie was just kind of slow and boring. And then when you get to a certain point, the movie just falls off a cliff. And I mean, falls off a cliff. Gosh.
Wow. They said Todd Phillips did it on purpose.
Well, I'm beginning to think that could be the case, that was just his way of trolling us.
But going back to all of this, it's like you had your chance. You could, why is it, Bob, that Hollywood is so afraid to put a superhero in these movies. What's going on with it? Why is Spider-Man not in any of these movies?
I don't know. Well, I mean, there's no excuse really for some of what they did. Okay, so he says that it's the press, that they're the ones that tore it up, and that's the reason why they did so poorly. Um, so I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and this is what's weird to me.
Yeah.
It's got a 16% amongst the critics, but it's
Okay.
got a 71% on the audience score, but it's only got 2,500 ratings.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go over to critic list.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see our buddy Blaine.
Because I tend to trust critic list more, because with Rotten Tomatoes they can get skewed. So the audience percentage there, it's at 48%.
Okay, under 50%.
Yeah, and I gave it personally, I gave it a 39%. I gave it a bogus.
Mm.
The only reason I didn't give it a little bit lower is because I thought a couple of the action sequences were okay. And then, okay, so on Rotten Tomatoes, let's look at Madam Web.
Okay. That was Kraven you were just looking at, correct?
That was Kraven. So
okay, then we're on Madam Web.
So if you look under all critics
Yeah.
on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 11%.
Wow.
And if you look at all audience, it's at 37%.
Wow.
Okay, now let's check out Madam Web over on critic lists.
What is
sitting
it?
At 18%.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah. No, the point I'm trying to make with this is the CEO says that it's all critics and they're just blasting it, and the press is blasting it. No, the audience didn't like it either. And like I said, these are laughably bad. I would see Madam Web with my daughter, with my youngest daughter, and she came out of that and was like, so, and she likes almost everything. So, I mean, it was bad.
You gotta have good stories.
Well, I think that's ultimately the biggest problem here. Now, the second biggest problem is that there is no Spider-Man, because that's kind of what brings the universe together. Because like you said, this wasn't going anywhere. So you needed that hero. It makes no sense to have all these villains without the hero, but it doesn't help that their stories were just badly told. So
exactly. Like if you created Kraven and you did this whole story, and again, I did not see it, but say at the very end, he's crazy and, going after people. And then you see like an image of Spider-Man, like, of his suit with the spider behind it and him looking, and you're like, oh, okay. Now he knows that he's got to go to war with this guy. It would have just been something, good, because you created the story. They're not doing that. They're like, hey, check it out. Here's our Kraven movie. What do you guys think?
And like I said, the movies are badly written, they're badly acted, they're badly edited. Here's just an example of the editing and how bad it is, and the writing. So there's a scene in Kraven, I kid you not, where Kraven asks this lady, the lead actress, asks her if she can get more serum, the serum, I guess, that turned him into Kraven.
Okay.
And I guess she got it from her grandmother. And she says, no, my grandmother died. I never saw her again. Well, duh. I mean, of course, that's what happens when they die. You never see them again. I mean, it would have made more sense if she had said, I never saw her again, and then I found out she died. So, I mean, that would have made more sense, but no, she died. And then I never saw her again.
That is so dumb. Didn't you tell me they also didn't make Kraven Russian?
No, well, no, he is. He's descended, I guess, from his dad's side, who's Russian.
He has no accent.
No, he does, like, early on, and I was thinking, okay, well, they got it right, but then the rest of the movie, he speaks with an American accent.
Oh,
I was like what?
He became
no.
He became Quicksilver again.
Yeah, you didn't see that coming.
He had more of an accent as Quicksilver
He did.
than he
So.
did as Kraven. Oh my god! Yeah.
So yeah, bottom line, these movies are bad. That's the
They're bad.
problem.
Yeah.
It's not. It's nothing else. It's not the press. It's none of that. These movies are bad. That's the bottom line. So,
All right.
all right. You got anything else?
No, I'm kind of just after I told you after last night. I'm fed up with just like I don't get who's behind all this. Like, I mean, I take that back. Duh. We know who's behind it, but why? What makes them think that it would entertain us?
Yeah. Yeah. No. It's just that's being completely oblivious to your audience.
Yeah.
But,
so, all right.
All right. You know what? Before we move on to the next topic, just got a check-in from Derek. Let's go ahead and see what's going on with Derek right now.
Say, you are a tiger, aren't you?
Well, you wait right here and just give me a minute to slip out of my suntan lotion.
Oh my god, that's great. Oh, Derek and the missus.
Yeah, so I
I
think we caught him at a bad moment there.
I know. The kids must be asleep in Hawaii, and Derek's a little busy.
All right, let's go ahead and let's jump to our next topic here. That's right. We are going to jump into Creature Commandos episode 5 that released here a few days ago. And I thought it was a very interesting episode. Had a couple of things that I didn't expect to happen. And so this has been an intriguing show. Very interesting at least from start up till this point.
Let's
Josh.
spoilers. Spoiler warning.
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's throw up a spoiler.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
All right.
Nice.
What'd you think of episode 5, Josh?
I liked it. I don't know why I like this show, Bob. Like, it's such a show that I would hate probably normally, but I love it.
You would.
I love it. Something about it. I don't know I mean, it's just gotta be the characters. I'm just like, I'm involved with the characters. Frankenstein. Oh my God. It's crazy. What he did, and he meets the old lady. It's funny, you have kind of a little Deadpool type of situation here, with the blind lady. And I thought, they were going to be friends. And the whole time I'm thinking, is he going to kill her? Or is he going to kill the dog? Is he going to kill both of them? And sure enough, he locks the dog out. And she's like, I don't want you to leave. Don't worry. You won't miss me a bit. Boom. And then the thing that shocked me was the death of Flag. I couldn't.
Now, here's the thing. Do we know for sure that he's dead? I mean, he sure looked dead to me.
He was pretty dead. Clayface pretty much ripped him apart.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is because, again, we don't really know where Superman fits in the continuity of this, and we know Rick Flag is in Superman, so
it's obvious.
Who knows? Well,
I don't know.
I mean, I would think he was dead.
He's got to be dead. He's got to be. Like you told me the other day, this was done after Superman. Superman exists already. We've seen. Didn't they have that? They showed Superman dead. They showed Batman dead. Wasn't that a vision?
Oh, that was like in that. Yeah, that was like in that vision. So,
I just thought, but again, I like the show. I can't wait for next week, where we finally see Phosphorus. See how he becomes.
Yeah.
Phosphorus. Oh, I did see. You know how I know? I finally watched the end. I watched the end credit or not the end
okay.
credit.
Your signal's bad. You keep breaking up.
Oh, I watched the preview for next week.
Okay.
And saw how Phosphorus becomes.
So yeah,
but
it looks like it's going to be pretty good.
It is. What do you think of the show?
So I thought the introduction of Clayface was kind of cool, but then they turned around and killed off Clayface, or at least it appears that they killed off
No.
Clayface.
Ugh.
I'm like, what the heck is this? It makes me wonder if they're gonna have like some sort of time travel device, or if these characters aren't quite dead yet. Maybe they're just really, really beat up. I mean, after all, Peacemaker, we thought that he died in Suicide Squad, and they actually found a way to bring him back for his own show, which takes place after Suicide Squad. So maybe it's possible that they bring Flag back. We'll see. But my initial thoughts were, we'll miss you, and I just oh shoot, the Frankenstein storyline was pretty crazy.
It's so good.
Because I mean, he's sitting there and he develops like almost a friendship with the old lady, only to turn around. She's like, "Oh, don't leave me alone! Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you alone." And then wham!
I mean, it's what I told you.
And I'm
This
just
is
like,
Suicide
wow.
Squad. This is why they hired them. They don't care. They will kill. Versus a superhero questions it and says, "Am I doing
Yeah.
the right thing?" This is what I want.
Well, I mean, look at what the Commandos themselves do during the part where they're trying to go arrest them
Yeah.
and take them to the palace. They're just mowing down the army of this country. I mean, you got people getting decapitated and stuff.
What's his name? The one who picked him up and Phosphorus just takes his fist.
Oh yeah. And then he's like, "Oh man, I liked him."
Yeah, I like that guy. Oh my god, it's just so crazy, this show.
Oh man.
It's just so crazy.
It just some of the stuff they do in it is shocking. The jokes are still pretty good for the most part. Some of them I think they try a little too hard on some of the humor, but that's typical James Gunn, where he pushes it over the top. But for the most part, I've enjoyed what I've been seeing so far.
Now, you mentioned something last week on the podcast, from what I remember, that you believe the princess is evil.
Well, I was thinking that because it had already come out that Clayface was in this thing.
Okay.
So I had a feeling that maybe she was going to turn out to be Clayface. That was a rumor going around, and I was like, okay, this seems to make sense. And then when we found the dead instructor,
correct,
the historian on Themyscira.
Yeah.
When we found her dead, then I was like, okay, so that's Clayface. And so being that Clayface was the one verifying the Cersei's vision, that makes me think that no, the princess isn't bad after all. So,
okay, so
at least that's what I'm thinking. So far, I mean, the show has had a few twists where there were things that happened that I didn't expect.
That's
so
good.
I mean, we'll see where it goes.
That's
but
good.
so far, so good.
How many episodes left?
Well, this is 5. We only got 2 left.
No, 3. Isn't it 8 episodes?
No, there's only 7 episodes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I thought it was an 8-episode show. Wow.
What do you mean you didn't know that? We talked about that on the very first week.
I couldn't remember. For some reason I thought we said 8 episodes. That it was going.
No, remember I told you I was on a stream where a guy had already seen it. He said it was 7 episodes.
Do you agree with him about episode 4? That it completely
Yes, it was easily the one that made my jaw drop the most, and that was and that's saying a lot because this show has a lot of jaw-dropping moments.
Yeah.
But that was easily the one that made my jaw drop the most because of the whole storyline with the weasel, and when you see him trying to leave the school with the little girl,
Yeah.
and the cops are pulling him out, and the weasel's reaching for the little girl trying to save her. Um, and I just it gets to you.
It
And
does.
then I thought it was kind of interesting that he's sitting there dreaming about this, and Nina's like, "What's he dreaming about?" And the bride's like, "He's chasing squirrels," you know.
Yeah. I love.
And it's like,
I
no,
still, um still my favorite episode is Cheers to the Tin Man.
that was a good one. That was a good one.
That's still my favorite episode.
So, I mean, so far, I think all of them have been pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been one I haven't enjoyed yet.
No, we both. You
So,
called me on the first one. You're like, dude, have you watched Creature Commandos? No, not yet. Why? Well, first of all, watch it when nobody's around. And second, give me your opinion. And I call you, I liked it. Okay, good. We're on the same page.
what like, what was your favorite part of this episode?
Oh, God. God, they tend to blur. Honestly, I think the whole Frankenstein
But
storyline.
specifically, what?
I still, God, I gotta.
Are you talking specifically with the old lady?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but and just hold on. I'm thinking. I like the beginning though too. I called you up when the what's her name, and she goes, "We're talking about lesbians."
I'm like, yeah. When she did that, I was like, what? Ah.
Like I thought it was
But it's the way she does it because she's hitting on the girl in the front row
yeah,
while she's doing it.
yeah. That was a good scene. I like that scene. What about you?
I think my favorite scene was when Rick Flag tries to call the princess to warn her, and Frankenstein's in the background going, "Tell her about me, about how we're best friends, and how I'm helping you. So and tell her to tell my bride that I'm helping you."
Oh my god, it's so fun. I don't remember Clayface being like that. Well, he was much more vicious in this than in like with Batman, right?
Well, I think almost everybody's more vicious in
I know,
this.
I know. But like the
So,
way he like was attacking him and then how he had to kill him. I don't know. But it was great. I think the show's great. I don't know where it's
all
going.
right.
I'm curious. Like you said, I don't think we're gonna have some things with Superman, but I don't know where they're going for it unless they're trying for some sort of animation, just this dominant being coming, and they're gonna have to, in season 2, try to, kill it. Or it's the
I
princess.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're talking about doing a season 2 now.
Oh, it was approved.
Yeah, it got renewed.
Yeah, it got
So,
renewed. That's why I'm saying a season 2. Because I
I
don't think we're
mean,
going live action with this. But maybe we
I
are.
don't think so either. I mean, I could see a few of the characters popping up, but not many of them. Maybe the Weasel because he's already been in live action.
I wanna see G.I.
And
Robot.
and Flag, but that's about it.
How about G.I. Robot? That'd be kinda cool. Can I kill Nazis? Can I kill Nazis now, Superman?
Uh, well,
Oh my god. That was good.
any thoughts on where you think it's going?
God, like I said, I feel that something big is going to happen where they're all obviously going to have to fight it. And I don't know if it's the princess who is this like, I don't know if she's a witch or I don't know what she is, but we also have what's her name's vision with everything. Like it's almost like I'm getting a Thanos type of feel. You know what I mean? Where remember
Okay.
in Age of Ultron where you saw all the characters dead? You
Mhm.
know, this kind of gave me the same vibe as to something that is really dangerous, where these, um, where they're not called. Are they called Task Force X?
I don't remember what they call
I
them,
can't
but
remember
I don't
what.
think so.
No, no.
Because they mentioned Task Force X, in the first episode, but they were referring to the Suicide Squad.
Task Force Monsters, I think is what they're called.
I don't know, because they were referring to them as the Commandos in this episode.
So I don't know, but I think it's going to be some type of creature that they'll have to kill, like that they'll have to some sort of, I don't know. It'll be interesting. What do you think?
I don't know yet. I still think that Cersei is going to be the big bad. I don't think we're done with her yet. I'm just curious to see how they're going, if some of these characters are going to stay gone, or if they're going to find a way to bring them back. But I think, just off the top of my head, I don't think the princess is going to turn out to be a bad guy after all. At least I thought so, but then this episode kind of threw a wrench in that. So then again, who knows? We'll see. But kind of where I'm going, I think Cersei's going to somehow get out, and the Commandos have kind of done her work for her. So we'll see.
All right, let's see what happens.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. You know what? We got another check-in from Derek here real quick.
He's done.
Derek, what you got going on? Apparently he's back at the beach again.
I think we should get him to grow a mustache like that, and grow a little bit of the hair back out, Oh, that's great.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move into our next topic. All right. So we are going to do a recap of our fantasy football league for week 17. Now, at the time of this filming, I was not able to get an updated leaderboard. No, because DraftKings hadn't updated the leaderboard yet. I did get our scores and everything, just the leaderboard hadn't been updated yet. So let me just go ahead and put this up here. Now, as of last week, I did, you Josh, were back where you belonged in last place, and I had beaten you and
You bunch of losers!
But as you are the most bipolar person I have ever seen, you and Derek both, you don't know how to be consistent. You see, I'm consistently in second place, and you two are jumping between first and third place all season long. We've got Derek in last place.
Oh, Derek.
Derek went with Spencer Rattler at quarterback, which I actually think was kind of an interesting play.
I did too.
Mainly because they were going up against Vegas and they were at home.
Yeah.
So I think it was kind of interesting. He got 15.32. HN had a real bad game with only 5.8 points. Jonathan Taylor was a real good play. I almost went with him instead of Barkley.
Really?
Kind of wish that I had 30.6 points. Jerry Judy did fine with 21.4. A decent game for him. Craycraft, I guess he went with him as a money saver. 2.6 points. Doolin, 0 points. Jonnu Smith at 11.6 points. Bucky Irving did great.
Bucky Irving,
26 points. The Colts defense, that was a real letdown because they were 3,500. They were one of the more expensive defenses. Derek's final score was 109.32. Final verdict?
Oh, I love that movie. God. The Three Musketeers.
Is that the Three Musketeers?
Here's the Three Amigos.
Good Lord.
Oh, my brain. Oh, my God.
It's you and the theme song from Happy Days. All right. Second place. I'm actually surprised that I finished in second place because I had a pretty good score.
Look at that.
I mean, I had a good lineup.
That's amazing.
Like I said, it was not a bad lineup. Jordan Love got me 14 points. I was hoping for more, but towards the end of the game, he started showing up a little bit. Unfortunately, 2 of the touchdowns that Green Bay got were on the ground.
Right.
Bucky Irving did well. Tajay Spears, I got a little unlucky with him.
I like Spears.
Well, I got unlucky with him because he got hurt with about 2 or 3 minutes left in the third quarter. Had to go out with a concussion. And here's what sucked. He had 100 yards, and then the very next play, he lost 5 yards, and that's when he went out with a concussion. So I lost my 3-point bonus with him, or else I would have had like 162 points.
Wait a minute. Doesn't Tajay Spears wear that big?
Yes, exactly.
Concussion?
Well, he went into concussion protocol. So anyway, Jordan Addison, 18.9 points. Dontavian Wicks, I partnered him up with Jordan Love, 8.3. Adam Thielen did really good at 31 points. I went with Tucker Kraft, got me 7.3 points at tight ends. I went with Saquon Barkley, 21.9. This is where I got a lot of help from the Eagles defense. They got me 19 points. Final score was 159.7. Final verdict. See, I was able to get a little water out of there because
a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I love your picture. It's like you're like, how is it possible?
Well, I am wondering how it was possible because that was a good score. Unfortunately, it was not good enough. As Josh said, a new record and got a new high score. Josh went with Baker Mayfield, 37.56. You went with Saquon Barkley, 21.9. Bucky Irving, 26 points. Jordan Addison, 18.9. Mike Evans, you partnered up with Baker Mayfield. He got you 29.7. Adam Thielen, he got you 31 points. So that was a perfect stack there. The only thing that might have made it even better is if you had gone with Durham, the tight end, and gone with 4 Buccaneers. That could have possibly done it. Aikens got you 10.9. He was fine. Mingo, he was your money saver at 3,000, but he at least got you 1 catch, so that was fine. The Cowboys defense was a letdown, with minus 4 points. Your final score was 174.16. Final verdict.
Yes. It's funny. Because the Cowboys, I thought of you because I'm like, well, I wonder, they're playing against Pickett. I wonder if they could get some sacks and some interceptions. So I was a little positive on them. I told you I had no choice, but I was like, well, maybe. And then they started off okay.
I'm listening, Josh. Go ahead.
They ended up, it got bad. But luckily, everything else was, worked out for the best. But it was a tough week. I'm not going to lie. I told you, I thought I was not going to win this week because I wasn't sure. I knew on paper my lineup was good, but, we've seen what happens in fantasy. You never know.
But part of the thing was there were only 8 games.
Yeah.
So even a bad lineup with less games could have done well. But in this case, that was really the only game today that went bonkers.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true because the Eagles put up a lot of points too, but they put up some on the defense and Pickett got hurt. So some of the points came from the backup quarterback and whatnot. So points were kind of distributed all throughout that offense. But with Mayfield, he played the whole game. You had a Bucky Irving getting a huge amount of points.
Right.
And then Mike Evans caught 2 touchdowns. So there were a lot of the stuff was concentrated. So
right. But that, a lot of people probably went for the Indy New York Giants game because they were all like, oh, Indy's going to go.
Well, that's true. That game did do very well too because Drew Lock threw 4 touchdowns, I think, in that game, and Malik Neighbors had 2 touchdowns. He got 39 fantasy points or something like that.
Yeah. So I guess Drew Lock would have been the unicorn.
Yeah.
That we talk about.
So the leaderboard, like I said, it wasn't able to get updated because it hadn't been updated yet. But Josh, you are up. So you're on top of the leaderboard with 7 wins. Derek's got 6 and I got 5. But we still have one final week of the regular season. and at least 3 weeks in the playoffs, so at least 4 more weeks to go. So
Okay. I
still could
thought it
be
was,
still can go any way as of right now because we're all still within striking distance of each other. It's kind of funny because nobody's really separated
no,
um, for most of
no.
the season. We've all been kind of hanging around with each other. So
And next week will be interesting because, like, the Chiefs are not playing their players. They're
right,
playing Denver. So obviously you don't want to go to that game, probably. And I don't know who else. I saw a weird thing today about the Rams. Did you see this? Like, they were waiting around at the scores, but one of the scores they were looking at were the Jets and Bills. Did you see that?
no, I didn't see that.
It
No,
made no sense to me whatsoever. And I don't know if it's strength of schedule or if it's points or what it was, but
maybe
they had that.
yeah, maybe they were looking for a tiebreaker or something like that.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. But it'll be interesting next week. Next week, actually, I just saw on Sunday Night Football before earlier was that it's the first time ever you have the Lions and Vikings.
yeah, they're gonna flex that game to the Sunday night game because the winner gets the number 1 seed.
Also, it's the first time in NFL history both teams have 13 wins, and
Yeah,
that
they have identical records and they're playing each other. The winner gets the number 1 seed and they win the division. So there's a
that's huge.
lot on the line with that because that you go from having home field advantage throughout the whole playoffs,
Yep.
or you have to do it on the road because you're a wild card.
If you're Detroit, you want to win that game.
Well, if you're Minnesota, you want to win that game.
No, I know, but if you're a Detroit fan, like, I don't know. I mean, they're good this year. So I think they could win on the road, but you want to be in Detroit.
I've got a feeling Minnesota's going to win that game.
I do too.
And here's why. They've had quite a bit of injuries on that defense, and they're not quite the same defense that they were earlier in the year. Well, I'm talking about Detroit. So
Right.
Minnesota, I think, could take advantage of that.
They could.
So
Do you realize next week, 2 years ago, Detroit upset Green Bay to knock them out of the playoffs? And
how
since
about
then,
that?
it's been on fire.
Well, all
Momentum.
right.
So very cool.
Okay. Let's
All
go ahead
right.
and get into our final topic here for the night. So we are at the end of the year, as we've already talked about, that we are going into 2025, and we wanted to kind of take a look back at 2024 as far as movies and television, and kind of look back at the best and worst of 2024. Now, I'm going to preface this and say right from the get-go, Josh has hardly seen anything.
So you have no frame of reference here, Donnie. You're like a child who wanders into the middle of a movie and
Great
Oh,
movie.
so Josh, you just base this on the stuff you have seen.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I'll
So
do-
let's start off with what were your favorite movies that you've seen this year?
Okay, and this is not a ranking system. This is
No, it's
just
not a ranking. Just kind of
Right.
throw them out. What are your favorites that you've seen this year?
well, I mean, automatically, Deadpool and Wolverine. Absolutely love that movie. Love the fact that we finally got to see those two together. Love the fact that we had Hugh Jackman in the yellow Wolverine costume. That movie was just so good. It was fun. It was entertaining. It's everything that you want a movie to be, and we had great stars in there. We had our heroes in them. I'm saying if this were Sony, they would have had the villain as the only person in there and taken away all of the heroes and say, "What's wrong with our movie?" So yeah, I definitely movies. So I love that one. Recently just saw Wicked, loved it. I know you loved it too. You'll get to yours. I had loved the play, seen the musical back in 2011 with my wife, and always loved it. They did a great job with this film. I'm looking forward to Wicked Part 2 for them to finish the story. Just an amazing movie. The songs were great. The story was fantastic. The visuals were amazing. Um, really loved that one. Having a daughter who you just saw come on TV, 8 years old. I mean, come on here at 8 years old. We definitely saw a lot of Disney movies this year. I loved Moana. It wasn't as good as the first one, but I still liked it. Just seeing them back on the big screen, because actually, I thought about this. I believe the first one came out in 2016, and that was the year Charlie was born. So we didn't get to see it in the big screen. We started it at home. So to take her to see this one, in fact, we might go see it again tomorrow because we have nothing going on. And I said, "You want to go see it again?" And she's like, "Yeah." So we might go see it again. The other movie I also liked was Inside Out 2. I thought Inside Out 2 was very well done. It was, fantastic. We all had just fun, seeing it. The other movie that I saw, and I'm not, let's see. Well, there's two of them. I started watching Beetlejuice. I have not finished it yet, but I really like it. So I don't know if we can, I'll just say I've not finished it, but I've talked to Bobby about it, and I'm midway through, and I love it. The other one was If. Didn't If come out this year? Thought it was a great movie. Really enjoyed it. It was a new type of movie, with the imaginary friends. And again, I saw it once, so I'm kind of trying to remember, all the little tidbits about it. But we had fun seeing it, and I think who was it? Brad Pitt voice was the invisible friend, didn't have to do anything. But really liked it. So those are my movies.
All right. Just some of my favorite movies. Again, these are not ranked. These are just are in no particular order. I loved Dune Part 2. Continuation of the story from Paul Atreides. The villain in there, Fayed Ralpha. He was awesome. Austin Butler played this character. He was fantastic in the role. He absolutely stole the show. So he was really good. Visually, this movie is stunning in a lot of ways. You could, Denis Villeneuve, who directed these films, did a great job with them and putting his vision on screen. So great job there. I did like The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. I thought that was a lot of fun. It's kind of a love letter to stuntmen and stunt work, and so that was really cool. I also liked Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I thought that was a fun movie as well. I enjoyed Saturday Night, which is the 90-minute build up or lead up to the very first Saturday Night Live. I thought the cast in that movie was really, really good. The Wild Robot was one that I really enjoyed. Very good movie. That's one that you got to show Charlie.
I heard it's sad though, right? It's quite sad from what I've heard.
It's not sad.
No? Okay. It's got a good message. I know that.
It's got a good message. Okay. It's sad, but it ends happy. So
all right.
I get over it. Deadpool and Wolverine. You already talked about that one. Fantastic film. I just recently saw Nosferatu. I thought that was actually pretty good. It was cool to kind of go back to an old school vampire. So I thought that was pretty cool. You mentioned Wicked. Wicked was a lot of fun. Very good movie. Probably one of the movies that I enjoyed the most this year was Wicked. I went with my significant other, my better half, to go see that movie, and we both really enjoyed that movie. So I liked that one. The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, I thought was a lot of fun. That was the film that's directed by Dallas Jenkins, who directed The Chosen. And I thought he did a really good job with this movie. It's based on a book, and I thought it was really good. It's got Judy Greer, Pete Holmes, and Lauren Graham in it. So it's a lot of fun. And then another film that was a little bit of a surprise to me, Transformers 1. I really liked Transformers 1. That's not a film I was expecting to be very good. When I saw the very first trailer, I was like, okay, this looks like this is just going to be a joke. And then I saw the second trailer and I was like, okay, this looks kind of interesting. Went with my boys. We had a blast with Transformers 1. Very good movie. That's one you got to check out also.
I know I need to. Is
So-
it on streaming now?
Yeah, it's on streaming.
Okay. I'm
I think it's
watch
on
it.
Paramount.
Okay.
So I think. But yeah, it's on streaming.
Okay.
So all right. So those were some of my favorite movies this year. Why don't you tell me what your worst ones were?
I mean, I didn't really look. I mean, based on, I'm going to be honest with everyone. We really didn't see a whole lot of movies that I did not like because a lot of them were, animated films and stuff. And so I really haven't seen them. I would say I can live vicariously through Bob, and say all the Sony movies he saw, sounded horrible. Madam Web,
Sounded
Kraven.
horrible and are horrible, two different things. Josh, you should be ashamed of yourself. You have a podcast now. You need to be watching this stuff.
I know. I need to go and watch them, but there really wasn't. Yeah, we had not seen that many movies except kids' movies, and they were all, very well done. What did you see, Bob? I mean, what
All
were
right.
your worst ones? You tell me.
All right. Again, these are in no particular order, but we started the year off with a stinker, and that was Madam Web. That was an awful movie. Rebel Moon Part 2.
See,
That was bad. Especially at one point when you see them harvesting grain in slow motion.
I still haven't seen it because you told me not to.
Okay, now in all fairness, I did watch the director's cut of Part 1.
Yeah,
and it was better than the Part 1 that we got initially.
and I like the Part 1.
It's does have more nudity and language and violence. But I did think it was better than the first part because there was a few areas of the storyline that were fleshed out a little bit better. Plus, there was more Anthony Hopkins' character with the robot, which I thought was kind of a cool character. But Rebel Moon Part 2 was a stinker. I still plan on watching the director's cut of that. I haven't done it yet, but I probably will. Movie on Netflix that I thought was pretty bad, Atlas. This was the Jennifer Lopez
I remember
movie where she's Pacific rimming her way everywhere. And she plays or she has the mech suit from every video game and robot movie you've ever seen. And yeah, it was pretty bad. Her acting is bad in it. Everybody came and chewed me out on my review for it. I'll tell you, it sucked. It was still bad. Kraven was pretty bad. Venom: The Last Dance. Joker, Folly, dude. Oh,
can't believe it.
Oh God.
Would that be your number one if it was if you were ranking these?
If I had to rank them, that's probably the worst film I've seen this year. And there's a reason why, and I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
So yeah, that'd probably be the one that I ranked or that I would say is the worst. So that's my list of the worst movies I've seen this year. And I know there are worse movies out there. In fact, leave some comments and let us know what you thought the worst were. Because there were a lot of movies I skipped based on what people said and I was like, okay, I'm not going to check that out. And instead I reviewed something else. All right, but those are my worst movies. What was your biggest surprise in film?
Biggest surprise. You know what? I would say Wicked.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Because I was afraid when I saw the initial trailer, I wasn't sure.
Okay.
Because it was different. And I'm like, I'm not sure if they can really do what the musical did.
Okay.
And after seeing it, pleasantly surprised, loved it. Was, oh my God, I can't believe, they got it right. I enjoyed the characters. I thought they did a great job. I thought the chemistry between Ariana Grande and what's her name? I'm sorry.
Cynthia Erivo.
Erivo was very well done. Loved Jeff Goldblum in the movie. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. That's always a good thing. What about you?
Ariana Grande absolutely stole the show in that movie.
Oh, she did. She really did. And I just am so looking forward to part 2 because it's interesting I know you haven't seen the musical and I know where they're going.
Yeah, I have. I've
You
seen
did?
the musical.
No,
Yeah.
you-
Saw it in theaters.
Um,
Well, it is the musical, right?
yes, but on Broadway.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. No, I haven't seen the
You
stage
don't know
version.
part 2. Like, do you know anything about part 2 at all?
I know some basic stuff about part 2.
Okay.
Now,
We'll
I've
leave it
tried
at
to keep what I've found out at a very bare minimum because I don't want to find everything out. But there are a few things that have been spoiled for me, but I haven't pursued it any further because I'm trying to keep my spoilers at just that.
Okay, just answer me this. Do you know the ending? Has that been spoiled to you?
I've heard some things about the ending, but again, I don't
Okay.
want to really get into it because you don't
Okay.
know how to stop your lips from flabbing. So
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying it. I'm just curious if you know. But great. Now what was I saying about the
about the stage play.
right. No, I've been just seeing like the director has been interviewed and has said different things that, they've put in that they haven't. So I'm excited. I'm excited for part 2. What was your surprise?
Biggest surprise to me was the Wild Robot.
Okay.
I really liked that movie. Okay, so let me
Cool.
say this. So the Wild Robot, I was not going to review that. I was not going to go see that. I forget what was going on, but I was just real tired and I didn't want to go see it. And I was just going to give myself a break from that, from doing a review that weekend.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing good things about it from
Okay.
people that I trust. And I went to go see it on a Sunday night,
Okay.
just like last minute type thing. And it was opening weekend still, but it was like a last minute thing. And I sat there and I walked out of that and I walked out with a big smile on my face. It's one of those movies that makes you feel good.
That's
So
cool.
I really enjoyed that one. Another one are the other two big surprises that I had. The biggest to me was the Wild Robot, but the other two that I just kind of I would put on my list were Transformers 1 and Saturday Night. Those were films that, again, they were a surprise to me how much I liked them. So,
Okay. Very cool.
all right. What was the biggest disappointment that you saw this year? Or was there one? And this is still movies.
Okay. Thank you for reiterating that. I'm just thinking, was there anything that we saw in the theater? No. Not off the top of my head. What about you?
All right. The biggest disappointment was Joker. The Joker
Okay.
Folie à Deux. That was the biggest disappointment. But two others that I didn't include in my worst movies list because I don't think they make that list, but I do consider them to be very big disappointments. The movie Here with Tom Hanks, Robin Wright.
Oh, that's right. You were
Directed
looking
by
forward
Robert
to it.
Zemeckis.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
it had an interesting concept, kind of that everything takes place from one point of view, but it was almost like it was a stage play, kind of.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really dive into the characters to where you really get to know them. It's almost like you're just seeing
Right.
snapshots of their lives. And for the fact that you reunited the two lead characters along with the director from Forrest Gump, you were expecting magic, and
Right.
that's not what you got with this movie. This movie was boring for the most part. I did like the ending, but the movie for the most part was boring, and I didn't think it was that good. Gladiator 2 was another one that I was disappointed in. not because I think it's a terrible movie. I do think there are people that are going to like it. It's got some good action, but the second half of the movie, I thought some of the acting performances were way over the top, even more so than the original. I don't think the film lives up to the original. And I know it's kind of hard for them to do that, but Ridley Scott just has not been able to hit a home run in a long time when it comes to movies.
Right.
And Gladiator 2 is another one of those where I think it's a swing and a miss. It's not the worst movie of the year or anything like that. In fact, I would consider it decent, but given how good the first one was, I've got to consider this a disappointment. So,
Hey, Bobo, can I give one surprise to you that's not necessarily a movie, but it's just something I just want to say?
is it a TV show?
Yeah.
Because we're getting into TV shows in a moment.
Oh, okay. Go ahead then. Never mind.
Let's hold on to that.
Okay.
All right. So, what were your favorite TV shows?
Well, my number one, hands down, The Penguin.
Okay.
That was absolutely amazing. I mean, what they did with his character was so good and so entertaining. And there were so many times that, like, you actually liked Oz, but you knew he was bad. And by the end, you absolutely hated him.
You know, I just finished a rewatch of that.
You told me, and is it as good as the first time?
Yeah, I just finished a rewatch with Irene. Actually,
what'd she think?
She liked it. We watched the Batman, and then we watched the Penguin.
It's so good. It's so good. I love the show. Well written. So many good things about that show. Gotham was its own story in a way, like Derek mentioned. God, his Vinny was awesome in that show. The whole series was great. His mom was awesome. The ending was fantastic. Yeah, to me, that was the number one TV show, I would say, of the year. The other one right now for me is Creature Commandos.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it every week. And it's just one of those, and people who know me, especially Bob, who's known me for millions of years, knows that's not my type of show. It's something I should hate. And just, I guess it's if you ask me, it's the characters. I like some of these characters a lot. And I guess if you ask me, like, why, I've always liked Frankenstein. I've always felt like he's an interesting character. So I love seeing him in there and the bride in there. The other thing, if you guys go back to one of our old podcasts and our top 5 movies of all time, my top 5 in there was Inglourious Bastards, and I love, what's his name? G.I. Robot. I'm going to kill Nazis.
That's the only reason why you like it.
No. I mean, I just think he's, like, really cool. So yeah, Creature Commandos is just well done. It's crazy as can be. Yes, I was not a fan of the 4th episode. I've let everyone know that. But the rest of them have been fantastic.
Okay, but here's the thing. Is it that you weren't a fan of it because it was a bad episode? Or is it just because it's a rough episode to watch?
It was a rough episode. It was a good episode.
Because it is a good episode.
No, it's a very good episode.
It might be the best written episode they've had so far.
Right. No, it was a very good episode. It was just rough.
Okay. That's what I wanted to point out. Okay.
It was rough. The only other show that we haven't really gotten back into yet that I want to see is The Bear. I know, we could talk about that later, but yeah, we've seen the other seasons, so we just haven't had a chance to watch that. But trying to think if there's any other streaming stuff, because I've been watching old streaming stuff. I'm finally getting into Daredevil. I know Shogun I need to watch.
There's so many shows, and I'll start naming some of these here in a moment.
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. If I had to rank them, The Penguin would be my number 1. And my second would be Shogun. Now, Shogun, the ending, it feels like it's building towards something big, and it kind of takes a different direction when it gets to the ending. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. But then I found out that the ending is actually very, very accurate to the book.
Okay.
So for that, I have to respect it. The acting is fantastic in it. The visuals are great. The music's good. Just the cast, they're all great. I love the story. So Shogun, I love that. Fallout was a fun one for me. I really liked Fallout. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like that when I saw it advertised, but I gave it a shot. And I think once you get past the first episode, because that's the one that's probably the weirdest, I think. Once you
Yeah.
kind of get past that, it really gets good. Or at least I thought it did. Superman and Lois season 4,
Oh my God. Yes.
very good
I didn't even think
season.
about
And I'll get into that in a moment, a little bit more in a moment. One that I'm kind of surprised that I liked, because this isn't really the type of show that I would normally like. And that was Baby Reindeer.
One was
That
good.
is, yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about this guy who gets stalked by this lady. It's a British show, but it's very a very adult material. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
It's stuff that like if you how shall I say it? If you hold a lot of very traditional values and stuff like that, this would be a show that you would kind of like, no, I'm not going to watch it just based on like some of the stuff that's in it. But
Yeah.
the story is so good, which is what I've told you before. I don't care about characters, skin color, orientation, none of that stuff that matters. I know some people care about that stuff. I don't care. At the end of the day, I want well-written characters,
Yep.
well-written stories. And I think this was a well-written story that as I was going through it, I was like, gosh, that was crazy. Gotta watch the next episode. And so that was one. The Gentleman was another one for me that I thought was really good on Netflix, kind of like a gangster type show, but it takes place in England, where this guy he becomes a duke, and he finds out that on his family's land, there on his property, a bunch of criminals have been uh, selling marijuana and growing marijuana on there, and so it's a pretty cool story and the direction that it goes. X-Men 97.
Oh my God. Yes.
See, Josh, you overthink it, but then you don't think enough.
I didn't even, because it's like you take the streaming, you take the TV, and you like, it's like so. And I was even looking at stuff today, and I clicked on Marvel.
So X-Men 97 was
so
I thought
good.
really good. Tulsa King season 2. I love Tulsa King, and both
Right, you mentioned
seasons
that
have been really good. Gangster show, Sylvester Stallone. It's the show that puts hair on your chest. It's great. Love it. And I was tempted not to put this one on there, but there was enough good stuff in here that it still made it on my list for favorites, and that was House of the Dragon season 2. Not because it wasn't well made, well acted, all of that stuff, but there were a lot of filler in season 2.
Yeah.
And stuff where they spent too long with Damon kind of going through his visions and stuff like that. And so there was some stuff where it wasn't as good as season 1. So I was tempted to leave it off my list. Not that it was a bad show by any means.
Right.
But it was but yeah, there was a lot of filler to it. So
Okay.
House of the Dragon season 2.
Very cool.
All right. Worst TV shows.
This I can mention. All right. Well, number 1, The Acolyte. The biggest insult to Star Wars ever, and the fact that they had to go on Wikipedia and change the age of Amundi. You know, that was ridiculous.
Yadi Mundi.
Yes. That whole show was just like, I mean, we've known for years it would be bad, but it just like, again, what were they thinking? I mean, just ridiculous. Um, I mean, it's just you sit there and like you build up Star Wars, and then you have this series, which at first you're like, well, maybe it could be interesting. No, not even close. You got a guy running around without his shirt, and then one of the guys who maybe you thought was good gets killed like that, and they just didn't care. And then you have Yoda in at the end, which makes no sense. And they just, oh my God, it was such a bad show. The other one that I did not like was actually last night, was just watching, was the latest episode of What If. I'm a big Incredible Hulk fan, and he was in this episode, but again, Marvel just has an issue with the Hulk. It's like they don't know what to do with him. And they come up with a story, and then you have what's called the Mech Avengers, and it's basically Sam Wilson, Taskmaster, Bucky Barnes. Like they're so focused on these new guys
I've
without
heard
even
some stuff about the ending that's going to make it even worse for you if you keep going.
God, I don't know. Maybe I'll just watch the ending. We'll see. So I didn't think that was good. God, Skeleton Crew is another one that we haven't finished yet. It just doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. I'm like sitting there and watching this thing and keep falling asleep. Yes, do I fall asleep on everything? Most of the time. But this it's like talking about the pirates. And I don't know, did you see the latest episode, Bob?
I haven't seen any since episode 4.
Oh my God, they go to this land that looks just like from The Last Jedi, the one with the horse racing, and there's like these gorgeous waterfalls, and it looks like the Four Seasons Hotel. You're like, this is Star Wars. I mean, it's so ridiculous, and I don't understand anything of it. Like, nothing seems interesting to me.
Well, nobody's talking about it. We'll put it that way. So
I mean, it's boring.
I think we were some of the only people talking about it.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm done with it. I don't think it's horrible. Okay, well, let me rephrase.
Well,
It's not as bad as some of the other Star Wars shows.
This
But
isn't Star Wars.
But it
This is not,
doesn't feel like Star Wars.
you
So.
cannot. There's no villain. There's no arch enemy that you can see there, and like, I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't know what they were thinking. Oh no, I know what they were thinking. Let's cater to the kids, but yet it's got nothing to do with Star Wars.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Let me see. What else was it that I didn't like? Hold on, give me a second. Let's see. It was those three. Agatha. I would say we really didn't get through all of it, but from what we saw, had no interest in it. It just was like weird, and the wine episode, and I couldn't finish it. Again, one of those things that I'm not interested in. Let's see, is there anything else? It's funny, it's all Marvel. And notice how good DC is. I think that's it. I'm trying to think if I have a fifth one that I saw that wasn't good. No, I think I'm good. You go.
All right. So my list is very similar to yours. The Acolyte was awful. I mean, there's no other way to say it. It was awful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful.
I've burped up stuff better than this.
And yeah, it was bad. Tales of the Empire, it sucked.
Oh yeah, God. Oh my God, that was.
I guess I wouldn't really consider that a TV show, but it was a streaming show. It was little shorts. Yeah, it was bad.
I forgot about it.
Agatha all along.
Yep.
Got through 4 episodes after I saw them turn into a rock band. I was done. Skeleton Crew, I do think it's one of the worst I've seen this year, even though I don't think it's horrible. Now, when it comes to TV shows, a lot of the shows I've watched or I've avoided a lot of bad ones because people were like, "Oh no, it's bad," and so I've been able to avoid some bad ones. Um, so Skeleton Crew, and then one I watched maybe 10 minutes of, but just could not. I would never picked it back up because it just wasn't interesting even after 10 minutes, and that was Echo. Um, so yeah, it's all Marvel and Lucasfilm. That's
What
sad.
about Loki? Did you watch the new season of Loki? Was that this year?
It might have been. I don't remember when.
I only watched a little of it. God.
Let me see when it came out. Yeah, I really don't care. No, that came out last year.
Wow. Okay.
But that was my list of the worst ones. The biggest, I'll just go ahead and say it. And then I want you to give me yours. As far as surprise
Okay.
goes, the biggest surprises to me, the Penguin, obviously, because it was a spinoff from the Batman that just turned out to be so good. I already mentioned Baby Reindeer. That was one that I found to be a surprise, that I enjoyed it as much as I did. But the biggest surprise to me was Superman and Lois season 4, simply because they stuck the landing.
Yeah.
So many shows just fall off a cliff at the end. I don't know if it's because they only had 4 seasons and they didn't have a chance to really go all the way, but they did such a good job with this show. Tyler Hoechlin has been one of my favorite Superman actors. He's had a great interpretation of the character. He was also a family man, so it was different from a lot of the other interpretations.
Yeah.
Overall, it was a great show. So those would be my biggest surprises from TV.
By the way, little trivia. I read today, I didn't know, Tyler Hoechlin auditioned for Man of Steel.
Yes, I knew that.
And then this one didn't even have to try. They just hired him.
What was your biggest surprise on TV?
So I've got a couple. Penguin is number one. Just, wasn't sure about it. Never know what you're going to get when you have obviously a villain based on the failure of Sony. But, they, like you said, they stuck to the landing. Just a good, wholesome, cool show. We were excited to watch it every week. Never lost interest in it. Gotta love Sophie Falcone. Just the whole series. Sophia. And again, I'll say another surprise is Creature Commandos.
Okay.
Not even, I remember when they announced it and you told me about it. I'm like, huh? What? And just love how they've done that show. And one show that I've only watched 2 episodes of, but I enjoyed it. The Chosen. I gotta say, I thought the writing on there was very well done. Look, it's not going to be a show I watch. We all talked about that, but it was something we wanted to discuss. And like Derek and I both said, 2 Jews who, don't really, have the same religious views, say, as you, Bob, and a lot of people, but just a well-written show. Like literally, I was like, invested in some of these characters and see what happens with them.
You know what's interesting about that show? Because if you look at the background of a lot of the actors and whatnot, they all come from different backgrounds and stuff like that. So it's not like this is all just a bunch of Christians putting on the show. Like, yeah,
Right.
Like for example, the guy who plays Simon Peter, he's Jewish.
Okay.
In fact, between seasons 4 and 5 for filming, he had to go over to Israel for reserve duty during the whole
war.
conflict after the whole thing with Hamas and stuff like that.
October 8th.
Yeah, so he got called over for some reserve duty, and there was it's interesting. And then I was watching an interview and I actually sent it to Derek just simply because we talked about it on the show. I thought he might appreciate it. It was an interview that they did with Dallas Jenkins on ABC News. And one thing that they mentioned was that the show has reached over 790 million views or something like that.
Wow.
And so yeah, it's just crazy the type of numbers that they're pulling in on that show.
Jenkins
So
was who? The director?
yeah, he's the director. Well, he's the writer and director of the show.
Okay.
So yeah, he does the whole thing. And then the season 5 is getting a theatrical release. Or at least I think they're going to do it the same way they did season 4, and that they'll release a few episodes together, like on different days, and then it'll come out to streaming after that. But yeah, the season 4 of The Chosen was extremely good. I liked season 4.
It was good. You know, another show that I don't know, I love, I don't know if it's a surprise, is that show I told you we haven't finished it yet. I'm looking it up right now. Oh, Nobody Wants This.
I know you keep mentioning that show.
Yeah, Nobody Wants This is excellent. We're midway through it. We just haven't had a chance to get back into it. But Brody and Kristen Bell do a great job with it. I think you would like it, Bob. Very entertaining, very different. I know they're going to do a season 2. I've always liked him, and she, is good. And yeah, I just think the show is very well written.
All right. What's your biggest disappointment from TV?
All the Lucasfilm stuff.
Okay, see, I don't even have any of those as my biggest disappointment because I expected all those to be bad. Same with Agatha. All of those look bad to me.
Yeah.
So none of those would make my list for disappointments because I expected that.
Okay.
Season 3 of The Bear is the biggest disappointment for me.
Wow, and I haven't seen it yet, so
Okay, I don't think it's horrible. There's some stuff on there there's a few episodes that are really good.
Yeah.
But it feels like a filler season
Interesting.
or the next one. And there's a couple of episodes there where I was kind of like, okay, it's I just wasn't into those particular episodes just as much. I thought it was the weakest of the 3 seasons so far. And so that is my biggest disappointment. Not again, I didn't hate it. It didn't make my list of worst shows or anything like that. But like I watched the first episode or the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
I take that back. I probably got through about 4 of them. And then I put it down for about 3 weeks before I picked it back up again and finished it. And it was like, yeah, I wasn't excited or anything to pick up the episodes again. And again, it's not because they were bad. It's just, it wasn't just driving me like, oh, I got to watch the next one. So for that reason, it was my biggest disappointment with season 3 of The Bear.
You know what I think it is with me and Lucasfilm is that we have so many years apart from when there was if you think about it, growing up, we had the original trilogy, right? We had that. I mean, it came out in 83. We were young, but we would watch that over and over again. And then we didn't get another Star Wars film till 1999.
Right.
We had the prequels. And then Revenge of the Sith.
Unless you count the special editions in 97.
Yeah, well, I'm not just talking about new stuff. Okay. And I know, yes, that is considered new. And then we get the disaster of the sequel trilogy when Disney bought it. And it's like when a Star Wars thing comes out, I'm excited because I'm like, oh my God, it's Star Wars. And then we get it, and it is terrible.
Yeah.
And it is such a disappointment. And you're like, they have so much to, Derek has mentioned this. You have so many things in the expanded universe. It's like they don't know what stories to tell, which is shocking to me. There are so many stories that you can tell, going back. And it's like, I don't know if they're just like, do we go back and tell aspects of the Skywalker saga? Well, how do we do that when we can't really we don't want to do CGI necessarily. We want to do, we don't want to recast either. Then we're like, oh, should we do a Knights of the Old Republic? Seems like they're terrified to do it.
I think, Josh, they just don't know what to do. That's it.
I think so. I don't think they know what to do. And it's like, and again, it's like what I told you guys. You do like a Clone Wars live action to whet the people's appetite, to bring the fans back. And then once you've done that, then you're like, you know what? Then let's go back and do Knights of the Old Republic. And that'll help. And then after that, because like you said, they're probably never going to retcon the sequel trilogy. So I don't know what you do after the sequel trilogy now to make it worthwhile. But that's really my thing. Marvel, it's just, I don't know. It's so, again, it's, Endgame was so good and I have ideas they could have done, but it's like it's always an agenda. They got to just check off their boxes and it's not working. And they've got to realize that. And after I saw, like last night, watching What If, and I'm like, oh my God. I don't know why they're focused. So first season of What If, I don't know if you saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw the first season.
Hey, remember the first season? It was different things. It was cool things, right? Second
Yeah,
season,
for the most part.
you had an agenda. You started getting the agenda. It was all about Peggy Carter, but who basically had the mantle of Captain America instead of Agent Carter, who we all loved. And it just went on and on with it. And now this season, who knows? I don't even know what you saw in terms of the ending. But from what I saw last night, I was like, no, this isn't like, this isn't What If. So,
all
that's
right. Well, before we close it out, let's look ahead to 2025. Are there any movies that you're anticipating?
Superman.
Okay.
Absolutely. Superman, Wicked Part 2. Is Toy Story 5 coming out, or is that 2026?
I think that's 2026.
Oh, okay. God, what else is coming out? Hold on. I gotta see, because those two specifically, are what I want to see. Hold on one second. Just give me a second. See if there's anything else that whets the appetite. Movies.
Well, while you're doing that, let me go ahead and list mine.
Okay.
Obviously Superman.
Right.
But the biggest one I'm anticipating is Snow White. I cannot wait to see Rachel Zegler and Snow White bomb the I'm looking forward to Thunderbolts.
Oh yeah.
I think that one looks kind of interesting. I think next year the Michael Jackson biopic comes out. Kind of want to see that. The John Wick spinoff, The Ballerina.
Okay.
Looks kind of cool. Let's see what else. Was another one I was thinking of. Or Mission Impossible, and the Karate Kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Also
it's not all about Cobra Kai. That shows.
I said just movies.
No, I meant about streaming. Our best TV shows this year. Oh my God.
Well, remember, I didn't. I thought it was one of the weaker seasons. So
you did. Okay, go ahead.
So I mentioned the Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, I'm seeing
remake
that.
could be kind of cool. So those are kind of the ones that I'm kind of looking forward to. Oh, Wicked also, of course.
Right. I'm seeing if there's anything. That catches my attention, but I think, Mortal Kombat 2.
Okay.
I still am upset. I still think they should have cast The Miz as Johnny Cage.
Probably.
I think that would have been really cool, but they didn't.
Anything on TV that interests you?
Last season of Cobra Kai. I want to see how it all ends. I liked this past season more than you and Derek did. So
it's still the same season. We're just getting the last 5 episodes.
well, the last 5 episodes. So I'm excited about that. Andor. Really am excited about that. Here we go, talking about Star Wars again.
I'll let you get excited about it.
We'll see what happens. It's supposed to take us up a week before Rogue One, so it'll be really nice to see what happens. What else is probably coming out that could be interesting? That's a TV show.
I'm waiting for Stranger Things.
Yeah. I gotta.
Final season is supposed to come. They're saying Stranger Things will be back. They don't have a release date yet, but they said it'll be back in 2025. So I'm psyched
We
about
gotta
it.
watch we never finished that last season. We gotta finish it.
You got through like 1 episode.
I know. We need to. My wife and I, we don't even talk about it. I forgot about talking to her about it.
Yeah, you need to watch those. Those are good. And a couple of the episodes are like watching movies.
Yeah, no, I know the new season. We've watched every season. Just we never picked up. We saw the first episode, or didn't even finish the first episode.
I don't know why. Season 4 was easily one of the best seasons. It was a return to form. Now, the first season I still think is the best overall, but
This season was awesome.
So, but again, yeah, Cobra Kai, Stranger Things, those are shows that I'm waiting on, and I'm wanting to say they've already started filming the next season of Fallout. So I'm curious if the next one will come out next year. We'll see. Is Lantern supposed to be next year?
Maybe was that because DC needs. I mean, let me see. Maybe.
Here, hold on. I'm pulling it up. Filming is it's expected to be released in 2026. Another one, and I don't know when it'll come out.
Which one?
I'm just looking it up. Okay, it is expected to be released in 2025, and that's the Spider-Man Noir.
With Nicolas Cage, right?
Yes. So that's expected to come out. So that's one I'm interested in.
That could be interesting. I don't know.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Interesting.
All right.
Well,
So I think that
very good.
All right. I think that's our recap of 2024. Our look ahead to 2025.
Okay.
Where can we find you out on social media, Josh?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's in honor of Derico. You can find me on TikTok, and you can find me on Instagram. I'm the Family Man of the Valley. I'm a realtor here in Southern California. What about you, Baba?
You can find me over on my YouTube page or on my YouTube channel. Was it good at Bob Loves Movies? I'll put that link in the description below, along with Josh's links. Also, you can find me on Criticless at X. And since Derek's not here, we'll go ahead and tell you where you can find him.
Is it wrong? It gets better and better, and it's the diving into the waves.
That's what it is. All right. Well, everybody, we thank you for joining us this evening. We wish everybody a very happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
For those that are college football fans, enjoy the playoff games. We got the NFL final regular season coming up next week, so we should have some fun with that. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight, and you all have a great day or a great evening and a very happy New Year.
Thankful for you, Bobo. Thank you for everything.
Thank you to you too, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right.